Hey there! In today's video, we're going to be going over Part 2, questions 11 through 20 from the 2016 to 2017 TMSCA General Math Test number 1. Let's do it. Alright, number 11. The measure of angle C is 1/2 the measure of angle A, and angle A is supplement to angle B. If the measure of angle B equals 35 degrees, what is the measure of angle C? Alright, this is actually a pretty simple problem. Let's work backwards. So we're given that the measure of angle B equals 35 degrees. And they're telling us that angle A is the supplement to angle B. So when two angles are supplementary, that means they add up to 180. That means the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle A equals 180 degrees. We know that measure of angle B is 35 degrees. So 35 degrees plus measure of angle A equals 180 degrees. Now if we want to get measure of angle A just by itself, we have to subtract 35 from both sides. So this cancels out over here, and now it's 180 minus 35, which is just 145. So the measure of angle A equals 145 degrees. Now the measure of angle C equals 1/2 of the measure of angle A. The measure of angle A is 145 degrees. So we just have to find 1/2 of that, which is 72.5 degrees. And that's your answer. Next, a new fishing pole costing $28.50 is on sale for 30% off, while a used fishing pole costs $22.75. How much do you save if you buy the new fishing pole that is on sale rather than the used fishing pole? Alright, let's see. So what we need to do is we need to find 30% of 28.5 and then see what the difference is between the 30% of 28.5 and 22.75. So let's start off with finding the 30% of 28.5. That is just 28.5 times 30 over 100. Alright, so 28.5 times 30 over 100. Well, what we can first do is we can get rid of 1 0 here and 1 0 here. So now it's just 28.5 times 3 over 10. But we can do this again by getting rid of 1 0 here and making this 2.85 instead. We're just moving the decimal place once. Alright, now we have 2.85 times 3 by itself. So we can compute that pretty easily. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 0.85 times 3 equals 2.55. So when we add these, we get 8.55. So 8.55 is 30% of 28.5. So now, to find what 30% of 28.5 is, subtract it as a discount because it's 30% off. So what we would have to do is we'd have to do 28.5 minus 8.55. That gets us 19.95. Alright, so now this is 28.5 on sale for 30% off. So now what we need to do is we need to do 19.95 minus this 22.75. Or the other way around, because this is a greater number. But it doesn't really matter because we're just calculating the difference. But let's just do it the other way around. 22.75 minus 19.95. Alright. When we compute that, we get 2.80 or $2.80, and that's your answer. Next, what is the product of the number of edges of a pentagonal prism and the number of vertices of a hexagonal prism? Alright, so a pentagonal prism, that means it's a prism that's in the shape of a pentagon. So that means that a pentagon, right, it has 5 sides. So let's say the number of sides is n, so n equals 5. The way we find the number of edges, that is just n times 3. So in this case, there are 15 edges. Alright, now with the vertices of the hexagon prism. So a hexagon has 6 sides, so n equals 6. The way we find vertices is n times 2, which is 12. Now all we have to do is 12 times 15, which is 180, and that's your answer. Alright, number 14. The area of a square is 196 units squared. What is the perimeter of the square? Alright, so the formula for the area of a square is just the width squared equals area, because a square has all four sides even, so these are all the same length on all sides. So to find the area, it's just the side length squared. So we know our area right here is 196, which means w squared equals 196. Alright, now what we need to do is we need to get w by itself to find the side length. So we can do that by doing square root to each side. So the square root of w squared equals the square root of 196. So since you have a square and a square root, they just cancel out to get w by itself. And then the square root of 196 is 14, which means the side length is 14. Now the perimeter is just the sum of all four sides, or all sides of a shape. So in this case, a square has four sides, they're all even. So the way you find the perimeter of a square is just the side length times 4, or w times 4 equals the perimeter. So we know that w is 14, so 14 times 4 equals 56, and that's your answer. Next, Grace has a pair of numbered cubes. One is numbered 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12, and the second is numbered 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What is the probability of rolling the number cubes and getting a sum of 16? Alright, the first thing we need to know is that both of these cubes have 6 sides. When you're rolling two cubes and they both have 6 sides, the total amount of outcomes you can get is usually 36, other than some special cases. Alright, the second thing we need to know is we're trying to get the sum of 16. 16 is an even number, which means only an odd, let's say odd is O, only an odd number plus an odd number, or an even number plus an even number can get you an even number. Okay, so now we need to see, are there a way we can get both odd numbers? We can't, because this cube right here has no odd numbers. So this case cannot work. Now we need to see, is there a way we can get even number and even number? There is, because there are 3 even numbers, 4, 6, and 8. So what we need to see is that these are the only 3 ways we can get a sum of 16, and that checks out because 4 plus 12 is 16, 6 plus 10 is 16, and 8 plus 8 is 16. Those are the only combinations to get 16, meaning there are 3. And we said earlier that there are a total of 36, which means it's 3 out of 36, which simplifies to 1/12, and that's your answer. Next, using the examples below, find the value of m. Alright, so we have this number 6, we have this number 9, that leads to this value right here in the middle, which is 9. We have this value 8, this value 11, which leads to 9. We have 20, and we have 14, and we're trying to find what the value of m is. Alright, so with this problem, it's the hardest problem in the test because it's solely based on luck. You just have to somehow guess the pattern and figure it out. So the pattern for this problem is the absolute value, let's call this n1, n2, and the middle number m. The absolute value of n1 minus n2 equals m. That's almost correct, but there's one more thing we have to do. We have to square this. The absolute value of n1 minus n2 squared equals m. So let's do that. So in this case, let's try it out. So n1 is 6, and n2 is 9, so 6 minus 9. The absolute value of 6 minus 9 is 3. 3 squared equals 9. That gets us our m value. Try it out again here. Absolute value of 8 minus 11 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Again. Alright, let's try it here. Absolute value of 20 minus 14 is 6. 6 squared is 36. And that's your answer. Next, number 17. If n equals 4 over m plus 10n, then find the value of 1/4 to 11/5. Alright. So what we need to do here is we need to replace the values of 1/4 for m and 11/5 for n into this equation. So let's do that. So we know m equals 1/4 and n equals 11/5. So when we substitute it, it becomes 4 over 1/4 plus 10 times 11/5. Alright, let's solve this. First off, 4 divided by 1/4. So that's the same thing as 4 divided by 1/4. So when you're dividing by a fraction, you could turn this into a multiplication problem by finding the reciprocal. The reciprocal is just when you take the numerator and denominator and switch them. So in this case, it becomes 4 times 4 over 1, which is just 4. So 4 times 4, that equals 16. Next, we have 10 times 11 over 5, which can also be written as 10 times 11 over 5, which is 110 over 5. That is 22. Alright, so now we have 16 plus 22, which is 38, and that's your answer. Next, if the measure of angle 1 equals 152 degrees, what is the difference of the measure of angle 6 subtracted from 1/2 the measure of angle 1? Alright, this is a bit confusing, the wording, so let's break it down. They're trying to find what is the difference of the measure of angle 6 subtracted from 1/2 the measure of angle 1. Alright, so that's saying the 1/2 measure of angle 1 minus measure of angle 6. Cool thing is, we already know what the measure of angle 1 is. That's just 152. If we find 1/2 of that, that gets us 76. Alright, now it's just 76 minus the measure of angle 6. But how do we find the measure of angle 6? Well, let's look at this figure right here. So this is called a transversal. A transversal has two parallel lines, A and B, and this is the transversal itself. So on this, there are certain angle correlations or angle pairs that can help us find what the measure of the angle is. So right now we have the angle 1 measure, which is 152 degrees. So angle 1 is a corresponding angle with angle 5, which means angle 5 is also 152 degrees. And now what you might notice is angle 6 and angle 5 both lie on a straight line. See that right here? A straight line. So that means that angle 5 and angle 6 are linear pairs, suggesting they are supplementary. Supplementary angles add up to 180. So 152 plus the measure of angle 6 equals 180. If we subtract 152 from both sides to cancel it out on this side, and we get 28. So measure of angle 6 equals 28. Now let's go back to this equation. 76 minus the measure of angle 6. We know the measure of angle 6 is 28, so it's just 76 minus 28, which is 48, and that's your answer. Next, what is the sum of the next three terms in the arithmetic sequence? So we're given the sequence negative 57, negative 26, 5, and then it just goes on like this. So what we need to do is we need to find what the difference is between these terms. So we can see that there's a difference of positive 31 between the first and second term, and the same thing between the second and third term. So that means the common difference is 31. So the next three terms are just going to be 5 plus 31, which is 36, and then 36 plus 31, which is 67, and then 67 plus 31, which is 98. And now all we have to do is just add these three. So 36 plus 67 plus 98. That yields 201, and that's your answer. Next, number 20. For the upcoming school year, Patricia buys 9 boxes of pens at $8.65 each, 5 erasers for 80 cents each, and a compass for $3.48. How much change will Patricia get back if she pays with a $100 bill? Alright, so she's saying that she's buying 9 boxes of pens at $8.65 each, which is 9 times 8.65. Then she says she buys 5 erasers for 80 cents each, which is 5 times 0.8. Then she says she bought 1 compass for $3.48, which is just plus $3.48. And now, let's say this is all equal to n, alright? What we're trying to find is the difference, or the change she'll get back if she pays with a $100 bill, which is 100 minus n. So that's what we're trying to find. Alright, so let's compute this. 9 times 8.65. 9 times 8.65 is just 77.85. Next, 5 times 0.8. 5 times 0.8 is just 4. And then we have 3.48. Now we have to compute all this to get our n value. When we add all these together, we get 85 85.33. So that means n is equal to 85.33. So we need to find 100 minus 85.33. That is just 14.67, and that's your answer. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to show your support. These videos take a lot of effort to make, and I would really appreciate it.